Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Deporting families after they've resettled here because their country is deemed safe is simply wrong. Could the Home Secretary tell us how the government determines what a safe country is, and will she publish the criteria? And given that she mentioned the DRC earlier, is she really saying it is a safe country over there? And will she also publish all existing returns agreements so that members of this House and indeed the British public can properly scrutinise them? I have done the reading and it's not in the detail.
Home Secretary.
Well, we already do safe country reviews, so we would seek to continue that. They are publicly available in terms of our position on different countries, and in fact mostly pass through secondary legislation in this House. I make no apology for a system that will privilege in the future those who come to this country through a safe and legal route rather than those who pay people smugglers thousands of pounds and end up in the north of France instead. And the point on visa sanctions is related to the fact that many countries do not comply with us when we seek to return people lawfully to their own countries, and this is just one of the tools that we have at our disposal to have compliance with those countries so that they do take their own people back.
Iqbal Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Given the UK's historical and ongoing involvement in unlawful military interventions alongside allies such as the United States and Israel, how does the Home Secretary assess the correlation between these foreign policy actions and wars and the displacement of populations resulting in increased numbers of refugees and asylum seekers arriving in the UK? And what steps will her government make toward proactive peace-building initiatives and the restoration of overseas humanitarian aid, which could address the root causes of displacement and reduce the long-term pressures on our asylum system?
Secretary.
Well, the government always plays its full part in peace processes wherever we can. We put our shoulder to the wheel on the delicate and diplomatic efforts that are required to bring conflicts to an end. But that is not actually what is relevant for what we're discussing today. We have a broken system today. We have thousands of people stuck in the system today, and we have thousands of people coming on boats through the north of France through reasons that are nothing to do with the British government, but we still fulfil our international obligations, and we will do so going forward as well. But I make no apology for wanting to move to a system where we incentivise safe and legal routes instead.
The Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country. It is a moral mission for me to resolve that division across our country. I know that the reforms I will be setting out later on today can fix this system, and in doing so can unite what is today a divided country.
Attempting to out-reform reform is actually just boosting this baseless far-right narrative and will only deepen divisions when we urgently need leadership and hope instead.
Let me tell her, I couldn't care less what any other political party has to say about these matters. I don't care what other politicians are saying on the television. I don't care what other activists are saying either. I care about the fact that I have an important job to do, and I can see that there is a problem here that needs to be fixed. If it was possible to pretend there wasn't a problem because there wasn't one, I wouldn't be saying there is one. There is a genuine problem in this asylum system, and we need someone to sort it out, not to pretend it doesn't exist, which I'm afraid is one of the things that fuels the division in the first place. My own constituents, since I have been Home Secretary, have been telling me directly of abuses in the visa system that they can see with the evidence of their own eyes long before any officials in Whitehall have ever clocked onto those things. It is a moral responsibility when you see something broken to fix it and to make sure that the fact that it's broken is not fueling division in our country. And let me also say to her, it is Green Party politicians who are absolute hypocrites because they talk great language in here and then oppose asylum accommodation in their own constituencies.
You said something shocking, I thought, in the House of Commons chamber tonight. You addressing a question from a white Lib Dem MP. You said, "I wish I had the privilege of walking around the country and not seeing the division that the issue of migration and asylum system is creating across this country. Unlike him," you said, "unfortunately, I'm the one who's regularly called an effing P word and told to go back home. It is I who knows through my personal experience and that of my constituents just how divisive the issue is of asylum in our country." Are you sick of well-meaning white people not addressing the issue of immigration because they can't walk in your shoes?
Well, look, the point I was making in the chamber and the argument that I will be making all over the country is I can see that this issue is dividing people across our country. It is not an issue just of white people rejecting migration or asylum seekers. I see my own constituents deeply worried about the community tensions and a system that is out of control and is unfair. So the concern about migration is something that is shared by British people of every background and every ethnicity in this country. And I think that that should be acknowledged, because you have to acknowledge what people are thinking. It's wrong to say people feel that way when it's actually true. They are responding to facts. They can see a broken system because the system is in fact broken. The pace and scale of change that we have seen has put communities under pressure. And I think it is the job of politicians, mainstream politicians, to come up with answers to the problems that the public rightly see are happening in this country. And it is my job, therefore, to fix this broken system.
And face that head on, which I've never seen a Home Office Secretary do in the way you did tonight. And it was tremendously powerful.
We watch what's happening in Britain. We say ourselves, why don't you have Operation Sovereign Borders? You know, why can't you turn the boats around? I think it comes down to political will. I think that's the most important thing. It's not, you know, like there's a policy you dust off in the bottom drawer and that just makes it happen. It had elements to it. We had temporary protection visas, so no one could come and apply for asylum. You could be left in Australia for a period of time, then you were sent back to your home country. So you had no certainty that, like here, that you left France, got to England and you were going to have an English life. You had no certainty if you left Indonesia, you'd get to Australia and you'd have an Australian life. We would send you back and everyone with you.
Practically, how would you do that? Because what people in this country...
We'd put them on planes. Like, literally, it got to the point. First of all, you got to turn the boats around.
How, logistically? This is...
Well, there's three elements to it. Turning the boats around, offshore processing and temporary protection visas. In terms of turning the boats around, it literally was the Navy and the Border Protection Force turning the boats around. When the people smugglers used to scuttle the boats and 30, 40 people would end up in the sea, we decided we would take them off their boats and put them into yellow lifeboats that were unsinkable, put them up with plenty of fuel and literally with a sat-nav, send them back to Indonesia. We were that determined. Now, we did that. We also processed them offshore in Nauru, so they didn't come to Australia and trigger all the court and legal obligations that we have under international conventions. And they weren't then fed by that sort of activist parasitic class who helped sponsor them all the way through the courts and use our legal system and appellate structure to stay in the country. Now, every single time I sat in the, our equivalent of COBRA, National Security Committee, and all the experts sat around the table, all the military chiefs who said, "Oh, Prime Minister, it's getting tough now. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this," but they're betting him at this, you know, extra element. He would say, "Well, go back and try harder. I'm not taking no." And it's one of those things, and I think this is why it's stuck in the mind of the public. If you say at an election, "I will stop the boats," you've got nowhere to hide politically, right? One boat comes, 4, 5, 10, 15. You haven't stopped the boats, you have failed. So it's a high wire act for a politician to make that sort of commitment before an election, and you've got to deliver.